Let's talk about shot selection for a second. I feel like shot selection is one of the most important things in disc golf, and it's something that we all, I would say, can get better at. Choosing what shot to throw in each situation is very, very important and also very difficult sometimes. There's a lot of different factors that can come into your head that make you choose either the right or the wrong decision. And then you can find yourself beating yourself up throughout the rest of the round because of the fact that you chose the wrong shot for any specific situation. So today I got a couple of tips that hopefully can help you guys as well as help myself as I continue to play in tournaments and casual rounds when it comes to my shot selection. So today we're gonna go over 3 different questions that I want you to ask yourself before you make any given shot. Now obviously there are gonna be some shots that are pretty straightforward where you're not even questioning whether or not you're making the right choice. But whenever you walk up to a lie and you find yourself standing in maybe a weird position, you don't know if you should throw X, Y, or Z, you don't know if you should throw Anheuser or backhand, sidearm, any of these sorts of things. When you get in those scenarios, there's gonna be 3 different questions that I want you guys to ask yourself before you pick your disc and before you throw. Now, the first question that I want you guys to ask yourself when it comes to shot selection is, are you comfortable? Now, I know that that can sound kind of generic or broad, so we'll narrow it down just a little bit to a couple of different things, okay? Number one, probably the obvious one, are you physically comfortable? Do you feel like you can get a good stance? Are you standing on a root somewhere that feels weird? Are there branches touching the back of your neck? Whenever you go through your stroke, are you hitting leaves? All these sorts of things. Do you physically feel comfortable? If you don't, and you have another option to make a throw that maybe you feel a little bit more stable and you're not hitting things, then that might be the better choice for your shot selection. So number one, are you physically comfortable? Number two, how do you mentally feel? Are you thinking about the shot and are you questioning it? Are you saying, I don't know if I can hit that angle, I don't know if I can do that? Anytime that doubt comes into your mind when it comes to a shot, you have to be careful, because confidence, honestly, is one of the biggest things that leads to success in disc golf. So if you find yourself mentally uncomfortable, as though you don't think that you can make a shot, then you might want to change to a shot that you have made before, which is going to lead to my second question of comfortability. Have you made this shot before? Have you thrown this shot shape before effectively? Because if you can look back in your head of all the rounds that you've played, you guys know that you do it, you know you remember so many of your good shots. If you can go back in time to a place where you made a shot similar to this, it's going to make you so much more confident and therefore more successful when it comes to the shot. So as you're standing there and you're thinking about comfortability and you're thinking about whether or not you've done this before, that's going to give you a better shot at choosing the right shot. Why did I just say shot so many times? So comfortability is the first question that I want you to ask yourselves. Are you comfortable with the shot that you're taking? The next thing that I think is really important for us to think about when it comes to our shot selection is not what is surrounding us, but what's surrounding the green. Okay, so I need you to think about the landing zone. Okay, so the second question to ask yourself, what is the landing zone? Where am I trying to throw? Okay, because there are lots of different factors that can come into play with the landing zone. When it comes to your landing zone, you need to think about a couple of different things. Number one, a pretty obvious one, is there out of bounds? Because that's going to completely change what you throw as you're trying to get to the basket or to a specific landing zone that might not be the green. You need to think about out of bounds, because if you throw a fairway driver or a driver, it might skip a little bit more and it might have a better chance of going out of bounds than, say, a mid-range or a putter. So out of bounds is one thing to keep in mind as you're thinking of approaching your landing zone. Number two, what is the material of the landing zone? Are there lots of roots that could kick your disc up? Is there a lot of pine straw for those of you from the south? Is there a lot of pine straw that you just can land on and skip? Because we have all seen crazy skips off of pine straw. Are there big rocks that it could hit and skip off of? Are there tiny little rocks that it could dig into? Is it just regular hard-packed dirt? So keep into mind the material of your landing zone, because that should change the disc that you throw a lot of times. If you're going to get a really big skip, you might want to rethink your disc. And then lastly is think about the slope of the area that you're landing. If it's a green, or whatever it may be, if there is let's say a right to left slope based off of how I'm sitting, it might not visibly look like it on the camera. If there's a right to left slope, you might not want to throw a backhand into that green unless you know that you can match the angle perfectly. Because if you throw a backhand into that green, it could follow that and skip. If you throw a sidearm, then you might have a better opportunity of hitting and digging and landing. If it's flat, there's nothing really to worry about. If the green is on a mound, then you have to think, okay, do I want to try and land on the mound, which could create a potential opportunity to roll away, or do I want to land 15 feet short, give myself a 15 to 20 foot putt with a little bit less risk? So the landing zone is the next biggest question that I want you to ask yourself about your shot selection. I know that it may seem weird when you're grabbing a disc, you're more so thinking about that disc and getting out of the situation that you're currently in. But if you find yourself comfortable there in that situation, then the next thing you need to think about is that landing zone and where you're throwing the disc. Now, the last of the three questions that I want you guys to ask yourself is, what is your goal for this hole? I know that might sound kind of like a weird question, but depending on what you're playing in regards to disc golf, whether you're playing a casual round where you're trying to learn and better yourself, or you're playing in a tournament, or you're playing in a competitive round with your friends and there's lunch and beers on the line. So you need to think, what is your goal for the hole? I've had to learn this a lot lately as I've been preparing for tournaments and for USDGC qualifying and all this kind of stuff. What is my goal for this specific hole? If my goal for this specific hole is to get a par, then that's going to change the discs and the throws that I end up choosing and making, because a lot of times you'll be like, oh man, I'm only 350 out. I know I can throw 350 and maybe give myself a shot at birdie, but there's out of bounds up there, but I can do it. And it's like, that is not what you need to be doing right now. My goal for this specific hole is to get a par. And so that's going to change your selection. That is going to change your shot selection. You're going to throw a disc that you are more confident with. You're going to throw a line that you're more confident with, whether you like throwing hyzer flips or just straight hyzers, or you like to release flat and go straight, whatever it may be, that is going to change what you do, because everybody has something that they're more confident with. No matter if you're a pro or you're a beginner, there is a specific shot that is your bread and butter that you feel so incredibly confident with. And a lot of times if you're just playing for par, well, then maybe that's the shot that you should throw. Maybe you should throw that hyzer flip that you feel confident with, that disc that you've been throwing for years. And so choosing to kind of take a step back, take your medicine, as they say, and play for what you specifically need to play for on that hole, that's going to help you guys out a lot. So shot selection when it comes to your goal for the hole. So I want you to ask yourself, what is my goal on this hole? Now, obviously, my goal on every hole is to hit an ace, but that's not going to happen. I would love to get birdies as well, but do I have to have a birdie? I know that's a very tough question for disc golfers. Do you have to have that birdie? Do you have to shave off that extra stroke? Depends on what you're playing for. So keep that in mind, okay? What is your goal for the hole? All right, let's do a real quick recap, okay? 3 questions that you need to ask yourself when it comes to shot selection. Number 1, are you comfortable? Are you physically comfortable? Choose the stance that is the most physically comfortable that you think will help you perform the best, most consistent and confident shot. Are you mentally comfortable? Have you made a shot like this before? How do you feel about the situation? Throw the shot that you're most confident with, even if it means that you might not end up getting a birdie or whatever it may be. Okay, so comfortability, number 1. Number 2, the green, the landing zone, whether that's the green or the fairway, wherever it may be. You need to think about the materials. You need to think about whether or not there's out of bounds, and you need to think about the angle of the landing zone, because all of those can very easily come into play and make a really, really good shot end up bad if it rolls or skips or hits something. And then the third question is, what is your goal for the hole? Because a lot of times you'll see pros throw a putter from 40 feet away, land it right next to the basket on purpose, lay up, because they don't need to go for the putt. It's not worth it because they've already won. So you need to think about your goal for each specific hole, and that will definitely change your approach or whatever it may be off the tee, from the fairway. So think about those 3, okay? Are you comfortable? What does the green look like? What does the landing zone look like? And what is your goal for the hole? I hope that this video helped you guys out. These are all things that I've been kind of thinking about as I've been working on my shot selection. Let me know down below if you guys have any other tips, obviously. Thank you for watching. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.